Purcell. He has been a leader in the financial service industry for more than 30 years. He is known for his strategic insights and his ability to achieve his vision and grow businesses. Wall Street is not always easy. There were days midway through his career that Mr. Purcell had particularly tough days, but he has always been resilient. Mr. Purcell was born in Salt Lake City, Utah in 1943. As you can see from this early family photo, his parents, his older sister, and his younger brother are very attractive. Even young Philip there on the right doesn't look too bad. He attended Judge Memorial, a small Catholic parochial school in Salt Lake City. Back then, the building needed a little work. It looked something like out of a Harry Potter novel. Luckily for one of our honorees tonight, Norm Wesley, who also went to Judge Memorial, the building later received an upgrade into the 20th century. Mr. Purcell was a star center on the basketball team and started tackle on the state championship football team. When he wasn't busy with his studies or sports, Mr. Purcell worked during the school year selling magazine subscriptions and pressing clothes at a dry cleaner. It was at Judge that Mr. Purcell met his future wife, Ann McNamara, the daughter of an Irish immigrant. At the junior prom, Phil wore a spiffy bow tie and Ann had a dress with a great skirt. Mr. Purcell won a scholarship to Holy Cross in Massachusetts, and after freshman year transferred to Notre Dame, where he had a distinguished academic career. He later won a graduate fellowship to the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, and then to the London School of Economics. He began his business career in 1967 at McKinsey & Co., the international management consulting firm, and rose to managing director and head of the Chicago office. He joined Sears in 1978 and played a major role in the acquisition of Dean Witter Reynolds in 1981. He later became chairman and CEO of Dean Witter. This is a photo of Mr. Purcell and Ann at a Dean Witter Chairman's Club dinner. They look exactly the same as they did 30 years earlier at the junior prom. Except the style of clothing has changed. At Dean Witter, he saw the potential for the asset management business well before many others on Wall Street, and he started the Discover card from scratch in 1986. By 2006, Discover had grown to more than 50 million accounts and more than 1.5 billion in pre-tax profits. Mr. Purcell was the architect of Dean Witter Discover acquisition of Morgan Stanley in 1997. Under his leadership, Morgan Stanley achieved the highest competitive rankings in its history. In one key measure of success, investors who bought the stock just after the merger gained 3 times the original value 8 years later. Mr. Purcell was at the helm of Morgan Stanley on September 11, 2001, when terrorists hijacked planes hit the World Trade Center, where 3,500 Morgan Stanley employees worked. Contingency plans were in place that helped mitigate the terrible tragedy. Morgan Stanley employees helped save the lives of many fellow employees and others. He served on the executive board and as vice chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. He has also been actively involved in parochial school education, multiple sclerosis research, multiple myeloma research, and children's health care. He has often worked closely with his brother Paul and his sister Patrice, who are both on the Junior Achievement Board. He has been a trustee at Notre Dame since 1991. Notre Dame's new facility for basketball, other indoor sports, and commencement is named after him. He and Ann have 7 sons and 23 grandchildren. As you can see from the hats, he is not forgetting that he grew up in the American West. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Phil Purcell.
Okay? Do the best. How about that impressive young man? Your parents have a lot to be proud of, Dion, and if you're looking for internships, call my number and I'll introduce you to everybody I know. Thank you, and I'm very honored to be here tonight in this great organization with all of you people who have supported it so long, and for the kids who make it what it is. Quite different, though, than Eileen. She's not old enough to be honored like this, and I am. As a matter of fact, my friends, some of whom showed up tonight, have said it's only fitting that at the Chicago Historical Museum that they would honor a relic. One thing I'm sure of, by the way, is, Dion, that Christ the King High School looks a lot better than the one I went to. When I first heard from David Nelms that this event would be taking place, I was absolutely convinced he had the wrong Purcell, because there are two who deserve this award, my sister Patrice and my brother Paul, both of whom are on the board. The only one in our family who doesn't deserve it is me, and I'm the one that ends up getting it, but I'm very proud to receive it, and proud of the town that all of you represent and that we have lived in for so long. The thoughts that I would share with you very briefly, and especially with younger people, is not advice. I'm kind of beyond all that, but things that meant something to me when I was young, learning about leadership. I think JA is all about leadership, all about working with others, all about accomplishing things in the private enterprise world. And when I was very, very young, I learned a great lesson, and that was I was talking to an older gentleman, not as old as I am, but older. And he had a business where he picked partners and put them in the real estate business all over the country, and they all became millionaires. So I had the occasion to be talking with him, and I was about the right age, so I said, well, Mr. Crow, how is it that you pick your partners? Because you're the one who has all the experience, and you pick these partners all over the country, and they end up being terribly successful like yourself. And I said, do you pick people with real estate experience? And he said, oh, absolutely not. No real estate experience. Anything they've learned is wrong compared to the way I do it, so I only pick people with no experience. I said, that's good. I said, about what age do you pick them? And he said, well, 30 to 32. You know, they've been around, learned a little bit, but still can learn. And that was great for me because I was about 30 at the time, and so I thought I had no real estate experience. I was 30 years old. There was no telling what might come out of this conversation. So I said, well, how do you pick these people? And he said, oh, it's really very simple. I pick people that other people will want to be successful, which is it's kind of a tongue twister, but it's very, very interesting, because for all of us, I think that is the key to success. It is others who make us successful. We don't make ourselves successful. And people make other people successful that they want to be successful. So I always remembered that, thought it was very important. And I know when we started Discover Card, we picked all kinds of people who we thought other people would want to be successful. And there are a number of them here tonight. We call them the Dawners, because our first ad was a sunrise on a TV ad, so we called ourselves the Dawners because it was dawn for Discover. And all of them were picked with that criteria in mind, and it worked. So it was one of the key things I learned as a young person and like to share with others. The other thing that, and David Nelms, who you all saw earlier tonight, we picked to be the second CEO of Discover, and he is that kind of person too. So it's a formula that works, and you heard it first from me. The similar to that, when I was at McKinsey, they had all kinds, which is a consulting firm, and they stress interview all kinds of very talented people and probe their analytics, probe their problem solving, probe their verbal skills. They do all this stuff, and at the end of the day, you fill out a 4-page interview form. And it turns out that the part of the form that's predictive of success is the answer to the question, do you like this person? All of the other stuff is important, but it doesn't differentiate who does well. So in my life, there's a real pattern to what kind of person you want to be if you want to lead others. And I'll close. I'm not particularly fond of the French, but Napoleon Napoleon is an exception for me. But when they asked him how he picked generals, and he was exceptional at doing it, they said, how do you pick generals? He says, well, I pick the lucky ones. And what he's saying there is he wants to pick generals that have stick-to-itiveness, that have commitment, and that have people who want to follow him under the worst of circumstances. And so even Napoleon got it right in terms of what's important in picking people. So thank you very much for the honor. It's a great being here. Thank you, Dion.